Hi, Jeannie. Lovely to see you this morning.
Good morning, Sue. Again, it's a pleasure to be in your company. What are we
Yes.
talking about today?
I think let's talk about resistance. It seems to come up quite a bit with my clients at the moment. And, resistance plays such a big role in taking our focus away from where we want to go to. And we all struggle with it. So
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I think let's have a chat around that today.
Yeah. I think resistance is coming up a lot, not just because of, what might be happening in your own personal life, but also what is influencing it from outside, which
Absolutely.
is putting a little bit of emphasis on it. So I think it's a good time to start looking at what are you resisting? What is the resistance in your life? Because it's a true thing. It's really happening to everyone right now.
Absolutely. It is, we're shouting so against what we don't want that we completely forget what we want. And so everything we do is about fighting against that thing, and that we forget to work towards where we want to go to.
Yeah. It's got to flow. It's got to be a little bit easier.
It
So
has to
what
be.
what I've actually come to understand about resistance is that it not just causes a lot of stress in your life, but generally when you are doing things from a place of resistance, 99% of the times it either gets blocked completely, it doesn't work for you, and it causes a lot of heartache everywhere around you.
That
Yes?
is. And remember, the resistance we have to things often will be just a perceived idea we've got about that whatever is going to happen. And we fight against it because of whatever is running within us, our past fears, our past experiences. But you're walking into a totally new environment. And
Yeah.
so you are projecting the past onto the future, and now you're perceiving something will happen, which
Yeah.
might never.
No, absolutely. Well, from my point of view, from the brain side, we see resistance when you are not working or when you try and do something that is not innately part of how you operate. And this is why my work and the work with you is so, so very important. Because if you look at it, let's have a look at someone that's, for instance, a painter, an artist. But he gets put into a position where he's now all of a sudden in a financial position where he's doing finances and he's needing to do all that analytical side of the business. The minute he does that, he steps into resistance
Yes,
because his brain doesn't want to go there. It doesn't want to connect there. It doesn't mean that he cannot do it because you can
absolutely.
very easily pick up a skill. And especially if you've been doing it for a lot of years, you pick up that skill, but that skill is not going to make it easier for you. You're still going to resist because your brain doesn't want to be there. It's not where you innately used to working from. The good thing about it is that if you're in a position like that, you are building up skills, you are actually helping your brain to integrate between the left and the right brain. But if you had to be put into a scenario where you have to immediately take action on something, your brain doesn't want to go there. It wants to go to the other side. So I think resistance is probably one of the most important things that I look at because that's where stress comes in. That's where people are not feeling happy and connected with themselves. And then, of
Absolutely.
course, it comes to your side of the thing,
Yes.
of the
Yes.
resistance. Why are those
Yes.
people resisting? What is
Yes.
it? What is it? So maybe you can
So,
explain a little bit more about that.
yeah, so from my side, obviously working with the beliefs and how we form our life, from my side is that story you are telling yourself
Yep.
about why this cannot work for you. Um, if you're going to believe, let's look at the artist, like you said, if you are going to believe that you are dumb, because we so easily call ourselves dumb or stupid when figures get presented to us or anything like that, that is what you're going to play out, because you really switch off. You tell yourself, I am not capable of this. And it's literally like shutters go down for you. Yeah. And you are not even open to ask a question so that you can answer it.
Yeah.
So from my place, we will then look at those beliefs. What are the stories you tell yourself? And, I have worked with people, entrepreneurs, who've been clients, and they will come to me at the age of 60, 68 or something, and we will find a belief they made as a 3-year-old, as a 2-year-old, and it's now playing out in their business, and they've been carrying it for so long. And that person sits in front of me and they say, but how can that be? But It is exactly how it works, because we don't get rid of those stories. We don't let go of those stories. We've got such an amazing, powerful subconscious. It just remembers everything until you tell it to let go of it. Then it's really happy to let go. But it will play out, because that's what our beliefs do. We search for the proof that we cannot do. So the artist will decide they cannot read figures, and then we'll go out and let me show you, I don't understand anything you're saying, and throw arms around and become emotional, and yeah.
And Sue, I've recently worked with someone, actually very recently worked with someone that was exactly in that situation. Told me that they cannot understand, for instance, questions that get asked that is very general stuff. But because they've immediately put themselves in a position where they've already decided, or they probably knew that it's not where they would like to go, they've already decided going into it that those are the types of questions we're asking. It was not at all. Yeah. But the resistance immediately kicked in because the person had a perception. They perceived it as, this is what this woman is going to ask me, which was not that at all.
No.
So then you go through a whole host of tests and try different avenues to try and see how you can assist this person.
Yes.
But in actual fact, the very first assessment was the right assessment, by the way.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
You do realize that it is that fear that we're running of being wrong, of not of failing, that they're going to think I'm not good enough. So we kick up, the ego steps in and it kicks up against it before you can even maybe allow that little bit of light to come through and help you to open up the door for yourself.
I will tell you a little story of one of my clients that came to me and said to me, we did the whole assessment. We did the NBI, the brain profile. We went through the lifestyle program. We went through the values and interests. And this is a youngster, a guy he was probably about 18, 19 years old at the time. He said to me, but he wants to become a chef. I said to him, that's fantastic if that's what you want to do. So we went through the whole exercise and the interests and whatnots that came up. And we discovered that he was very passionate about it. But because of his sport, he was also a pro sportsman.
Okay.
Immediately there was resistance, and he said to himself, he cannot do this and that, or he cannot do that and still do that. It was literally a question of working through the process, eliminating all the fears and all the stuff, not from a subconscious point of view, but conscious where I work, from a brain point of view, to try and eliminate what it is that makes him believe that he cannot have both. And
Yeah.
of course, we had to kick around with the fact that he is a pro sportsman. He needs to exercise in the afternoon and practice and do all these things. But yet the passion was there. Then he decided, no, he also want to go and do something completely different because he doesn't have to make a decision now.
Well, that's it.
But what happened in the end is we worked through the whole process and we actually got to a point where he said, you know what I am going to do? I am going to start a bespoke breakfast, lunch school, not school, a business where I only do breakfasts and lunches. I close my business at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Wonderful.
Because after 3, I can go and do my pro sport.
You see.
And that is where we go with this stuff. But
Yes.
the moment the fears, like you said, and the not knowing how to, not working through the questions kicks in, people resist and they don't want to know. They don't want to, they don't know what they don't know. They don't want to go there because they don't know.
Exactly. You and I privately had a quick talk the other day about thinking outside the box. And that is part of our belief system. We so conform to what society says. Business hours are between 8 and 5, and so you must run. And if you're going to run a restaurant, it must be those. It doesn't have to be that. It absolutely. And so the moment you can get people to just let go of some of those beliefs, and then working with them, they can now just let's open it up. Let's look a bit differently at things.
Absolutely.
If we just think the work we are doing, and I've got overseas clients and you've got overseas clients, 10 years ago, I would not have thought I could do my work remotely. Absolutely not. Good to have a person here because it's a relationship you build and all that. But we've adapted. As humans, we are so willing. We are so easy to adapt. And we must just be open to it.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question. Do you think from a perspective of maybe different cultures, how big does the culture thing, how big does the resistance play a role when it comes to cultural differences?
Oh, huge. Because you must remember, we build for our whole life we build our whole life around beliefs. So everything that you're experiencing, and I often say to clients, if you've got brothers and sisters, they have a very different life to yours. They see the world differently, although there are things that we see the same. Now, when we are within a culture, those things get ingrained from very young into us. You just have to look at the humor aspect that we around the world, what people laugh at.
Absolutely.
South Africans are completely different to the English and to the Americans and everybody. Everybody's got their own thing. The Australians have got their own thing. And so where would you pick it? If we were born in another country, we would have picked up their culture of humor.
Yeah.
And so that is absolutely how our culture plays an enormous role. And we so unconsciously just take it in because it is that group that takes us with it. And so schools, churches, towns where we live in, I mean, small town compared to the city, you've just got totally different beliefs that you run. And so, yes, those play, apart from what you decide, we buy into societal acceptance and we go along with it.
Look, I still believe, and I think it's a big thing, especially now with a new way of working, the new way of doing business and all of that. I still believe a person needs to be part of a community. We are social beings. And we need to find our community. And if it's not where you are, or the town or the city or the country that you're in, then it's not that. But you have to be part of a community. That, in my opinion, is, I think it was Freud. Was it Freud or Adler that spoke about that? How important community is?
You have to. We are... I think when you do psychology, first year, it's no man is an island or whatever. And that is so true.
Yes.
You've got to, because that is where we bounce our ideas and things. That's where our growth happens, because the people who think similar to us or who have the same interests as us, they think differently because they've got a different belief system.
Yeah.
So they think differently to us. And that's where our growth, because I can hear something you say, I hear it. I don't have to go against you. Now we come back to the resistance.
Yes.
Information is just information. Don't resist it. Just take it in, see whether it fits for you or not fit for you, and let it go. But that is the role that a community plays for us.
Yes.
The community is vital in our growth as a human, that development that we need to do, and so that we can just function so much better, and that we can look at life differently, so that you can think outside the box.
Just be. But I think the work that we're doing, Sue, it is vitally important that you know how your brain functions, where you can improve, what those limiting beliefs are, so that you can get that resistance out the way and live a much easier life that flows wherever it may be.
Absolutely.
That is at the end of the day, that is going to carry you through life no matter where you go.
100%. And I want to say that the moment you experience resistance, know that there is a belief that needs to go, because that is the only reason. Because if it was something completely new that you had no thought about, you'd be open for it to see what it's about.
So how would you define establishing whether you're resisting something, whether there is resistance?
Oh, when that emotion kicks in and you try to turn around and go and find another job, because I'm not going to do this, is too much. I don't want to make the decision. The moment that fear sets in, that irritability sets in, the moment you start overthinking, oh, what am I going to do here? Because there will be answers.
But you don't want to go there. Yeah,
you don't want to go there. We become so addicted to our way of life that we would rather take the trouble that comes with it than let go of it.
Dip your toes in it. I told you about my client this week.
Yeah.
That is he just kicked his heels and he did not want to go through those questions. He literally did not. He got upset with me.
Yes.
Until I said to him, let's look at it differently.
Yeah.
Because now I'm running into the left brain and into the right brain, asking the questions that is related to that brain profile to get to the answers. And the minute I did that, we actually managed to get through it.
Yes.
But I'm not done with this client, because from here, I've got to hand him over to you, because otherwise he now knows, but he's still operating from.
How do you apply it? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because it's wonderful I think it makes it much easier for people to understand the sort of default reaction because of your brain profiling that you're doing, that they understand where they work from and why it is so difficult for them to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
And so it really makes it so much easier, but then to give them the tools. And now here, let's take you through a process. Because with the way our brains work, and people around us make these silly little remarks about you're no good with that, and you will never do that, and you'll never amount to listen. Oh my word.
The world.
And so let me just not go there, because I will fail.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And people live with that for the rest of their lives, thinking that's how it should be, because our parents have told us, schools have told us, universities, the media, how hard life is. It's hard out there.
Yes.
You can't have it easy. You've got to work hard. If you don't work hard at something, then it's not worth it.
Yeah, and they even let it not be fun.
You've got to grind.
You
You've
gotta
got to work
grind. It's
very
gotta
hard
be hard slog for you to
and
get there.
hope and pray that you actually make it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
And it was never meant to be that. You know,
no,
our vocation should be the place where we have fun while we're walking this life and learning and letting go of all these things that limit us and all that, because that is hard struggle, because we identify with it, so it becomes us. And we should have so much fun in our work.
yeah,
That's what we should be doing.
yeah. Well, as a whole, in everything that we do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sure, it was an interesting conversation, Sue. I think we need to close this here today.
Yes.
And definitely we'll have another chat next week.
Of course, we're doing another one next week. I love these chats. It is nice to just get it from both sides and to learn more about us.
Yes,
We know so little about ourselves.
yeah, absolutely. So that was amazing. Thank you for your time once again.
Thank you.
Are you going to
Thank you
close
to
for
you.
us?
Yes, I'll close. Jeannie, thank you for taking this time to chat to us so that we just have a little bit more understanding of why we fall back to the old habits we hold, how that brain, sometimes we see it as an enemy who works against us, but once we understand it, we can use it to our best. And how you and I just love that we can work together, that we can take people and you can help them on that side, and then we send them off with tools and getting rid of those limiting beliefs so that their life just becomes easier.
Absolutely, Sue. What a pleasure. I mean, it is actually amazing how the synergy, once a person starts talking about these things,
Absolutely.
how you do find synergy. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And I'm going to have a chat with you next week.
Will do. Thank you to you. Have a
Wonderful.
lovely day. Bye.
Bye.